Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Election Countdown. Today I have with me Ethan Davies.
Hello.
And Luke Nolan.
Hello.
They are both from the Sheffield Revue, and today we are talking about their society and what they get up to. So, give me a brief rundown.
Do you want to do that because you're the secretary now?
I'm the secretary now. The Sheffield Revue is a stand-up and sketch society. We put on stand-up shows, sketch shows. We have writing workshops where we work on sketches, and we work on stand routines, and we have performance workshops
where we work on performing the stuff that we wrote on the.
Very straightforward.
Yeah, it's quite basic. It's not improv. We have a different improv society, so it's very much just those two types of comedy.
Yeah.
So, do you do both stage and film, or mainly stage work?
Mainly stage so far, but we're
Mainly
looking into
stage.
doing more film stuff in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
We do have a podcast as well.
Yeah.
We have a website, thesheffieldrevue.com.
I'll have to leave a link.
Yeah, if you want to go there. And I don't know if anybody does, but if you want to, go ahead.
Alright, okay. So, moving on to comedy on campus in the 21st century. How difficult is it being a comedian nowadays, in terms of what you can and cannot satirise?
I don't think there's a line, really.
No, I agree. I would say that you can joke about anything. It just depends on the joke.
Yeah,
Right.
it depends on the joke, because I've gotten away with saying some things that if you were to draw a list of rules, I've probably broken all the rules, but I've done it in a way that bends them so that the audience doesn't get that offended. In fact, they clap when I say the horrible things.
So, accusations of, Daily Mail, old white people saying that everything is, too politically correct and too constrained.
It's nonsense. What they mean is that nobody agrees with them anymore, so they're getting very annoyed because there's no longer people like Bernard Manning, for example, who go out there and give the right wing comedy. It's not on TV. It's definitely not here. I don't know that many right wing people at all in education. So it's very much that may be saying something about whether or not right wing people understand stuff. But in comedy, it's not really there, and it's not really political correctness. When I watch these people who say, "Oh, there's too much political correctness at campuses," they're like 60. They don't go to university, so I don't know where they get that information.
That's the question I was going to move on to. Actually, do you think that political correctness is more severe on campus compared to the wider world?
I haven't seen any evidence of that. I don't know.
I've seen some evidence, but I think it's less sort of the campus. I think it's just the people on campus get really over hyper about it. They get over obsessed.
Do you think it's a minority who are politicized in a certain way?
I don't think they're politicized. I think they're just very aware of these other people that they see. Oh, there's the other people. Let's not offend these other people, and then they get very angry when other people make fun of these other people. So there's big groups of people that they label in their heads, and they go, "This person can't make fun of this person."
Yeah.
It's sort of the idea of if you go on stage and say I'm a member of Pride, I'm gay and proud, that comes up fine. But if you go on stage and say I'm straight and proud, or I'm white and proud, then it gives this sort of idea. Oh, hang on, that's a bit weird because that's implying that you're against these other people.
So it's kind of trying to create a negative counter narrative that we've got to avoid.
I don't know. It's weird. There's a lot of people who are very politically correct. I'm probably one of them, but I see it as there's a step too far when you start policing things too much. Like some things that people say where they don't intend it. It's all about intent for me, really.
I would say as a society we're quite, not by any rules, no one said you have to be politically correct. I just think the type of people we attract, and especially I think comedy as a whole at the moment, especially in student circles, attracts that sort of politically correct sort of crowd. But people seem to use politically correct as like a dirty word, isn't it? I think
I think
it has its problems.
You'd say it has been I mean, we can all agree 99% of the time it's extremely positive.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider some of the sketches that we used to have on in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one from, I don't know if you know the series called Damn. And
was it Rising Damn?
Oh, Rising Damp, yeah.
Yeah.
They were going to donate blood, and someone was pointing to a black person and say, "Is he allowed to donate blood?" I'm not sure I want his jungle juice, which was the exact quote. Very controversial today, but it's positive that we have moved beyond these.
Well, there were loads of things back then. But there was one called, but it was still a very much. It was allowed back then because it wasn't seen as a problem because these people didn't have a voice really to say, "Hang on, we don't like this." And also, if you were a black actor, for example, like the people on that show, I don't think you would have gone, "No, I'm gonna refuse all this work and all this money and this fame because of this thing." So it's very much now because people have the choice to go, "I don't like this," then it comes across much more clearly.
How do you both respond to? It was a small segment made by John Cleese where he's saying political correctness offends me, and he was making that point that society he thought had gone too far one way. Do you think political correctness ever offends you in terms of what you can and cannot say while on stage, or do you think that the limits are and the parameters are correct nowadays?
I would say that saying that political correctness offends you is sort of counterintuitive because then you're being offended by what people are saying. People during comedy and in everyday life, people have the right, obviously, freedom of speech to say anything. People also have the right to be offended by that and to come back at that and say you can't say this. Both are just as equal, and you can't get rid of one. As soon as you get rid of one and say you can't say this sort of thing, and that's freedom of speech. So you need to have the openness, but also just as equally you need to have people say, well, you can't say that for these reasons.
But there is again on campus. I mean, take platforming for example. Germaine Greer, who took massive steps forward for the feminist movement, came out with a ridiculous statement about trans people and how they shouldn't be seen as women or as part of the women's movement. Do you think that she had a right to say what she said, and did she deserve to be platformed for it when you consider the things that she'd done previous?
I think it's very important. No platforming to me is very annoying, but there's a big sort of with comedy, when it interjects with comedy, it's very much, oh, he didn't have a TV show anymore, so this is evil, this is political correctness. You have a right to say stuff, you don't have a right to appear on a stage or in a TV show. So she could have continued saying these things. If the people there didn't want her to speak, then they had the right to refuse it. But some people wanted to hear her, then she should have said what she wanted to say. Because no platforming to me is very much going, oh, let's just silence this person, instead of going, well, this person has this opinion. This must have come from somewhere. Let's address where this has come from.
Sort of just like putting your fingers in your ears and going,
So do you think on campus we need an attitude of, yes, you can say that, but we need to challenge people directly rather than blanking them completely?
Yeah. I think that would be ideal, but I think obviously it's harder to do that than.
I'd much prefer have debates held instead of, because with some right-wing political figures, you see them coming in and they just give a speech for an hour, and then as soon as somebody asks this question, they just get very angry, and that's not really helping in any way because that's just one person, no feedback whatsoever, and then leave.
But there is the flip side to this of how would someone feel if, again, someone like Germaine Greer came to this campus? How would a trans person feel? There's the flip side to that of,
Yeah, it's difficult because obviously, like, there are certain things that I don't want people to say, and I don't want them to say it in front of me. But you always have the choice to not turn up to the event, get angry. It's not like, oh, because the university is having this person here discussing something and debating something, they agree with this person. In every debate, there are 6 normally people who have different opinions. That doesn't mean the university stands for all 6 of them, because that's impossible.
I mean, there was the example of Katie Hopkins again. People turned up, and then as soon as she started speaking, they all just left. Do you think that's the correct kind of way of going about it? Yes, have these people on, but then show how you feel.
I think that's a better way of going about it than straight out saying no.
I thought it was kind of funny when they did that, but at the same time, it was funny because, they've paid this money to see it. And they've wasted the money.
Yeah.
But it's sort of, with Katie Hopkins, again, it's different because Germaine Greer obviously has a background, and it depends on the person as well. Like, I wouldn't put any random person on the stage and go, here's freedom of speech, you have to say whatever you want, because there's a difference between Germaine Greer, who knows things, and then Katie Hopkins, who was famous once for being on TV and then just says a little random things. And so it's like putting Stephen Hawking up against some bloke on the street who supports EDL, and then they're going, okay, discuss black holes, and this guy doesn't even believe in black holes. You know, it's that ridiculous notion. Just because of freedom of speech doesn't mean this guy has anything good to say.
So, how would you define going too far?
I don't think there is a line for me. I think it very much depends. I don't think any topic is off bounds. I don't think there's nothing I wouldn't joke about. There's nothing I wouldn't write
But
about.
certainly,
it's the way you go.
But picking out, for example, individuals who
and targeting them and harassing them.
Yeah.
Well, again, it depends on the. See, it's hard because I would never do that, and I don't think people should do that. But people still have the right to do that, and they should be.
Some people find that very funny when the comedian goes on stage and goes, "You do this and this and this," and
there's loads of comedians that that's the whole career.
But it's sort of, it all depends on the type of comedy. You know, obviously, there's shock comedy and stuff like that.
Do you think it's a lot like your T-shirt then?
Well,
this was not made by little children, honest.
Yeah,
that kind of, you can satirise the situation, but you can't.
I wouldn't. It's all about. With me, it's more about intent than repercussions. And if somebody gets offended, then you can go, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you, but this is what I meant. But obviously, you can't do that when you're writing it, because then you'd never get anywhere.
It is completely about intent. If you go out onto a stage and intend to upset people, and intend to be offensive, then people are going to get a lot of backlash for that, and that's, in my view, not.
Yeah.
And it's just as true in politics as it is in comedy, I suppose.
Yeah.
If you go out and intend to offend people in order to gain support, a lot like UKIP with the whole
that massive poster.
If you go out and try and defend people to gain votes, if you try and offend people to gain a following in comedy, is it much the same type of thing?
Yeah, there's a very good article on Vice, I think it is, about Roy G. Brown. It's called I think it's called something like "I Was the Only Black Person in the Audience," and it's a very interesting thing because there's a bit in it where Roy G. Brown goes to say something, the audience laugh for the wrong reason, and then he pulls back. And Roy G. Brown, who is a very racist, horrible comedian on the right, and he's very offensive. He's said many times, They know what to expect now. I can't get rid of this character. It's stuck on me. If I wanted to go out and do something else, I can't. And that was an example of it. And I think if you start out going, we're going to say these horrible things to get thing, it's very difficult then to pull back and change.
What about people like, say for example, Andy Gray, who said it was meant to be off camera, but it wasn't. I mean, I come out of this with a bit. Not biased, but Andy Gray is ex-Everton footballer, won 2 league titles with us. He said, tried to say it off camera, but it was recorded without him knowing. Someone better go down and teach that female linesman offside. And because of that, he then lost his job with Sky. He's now said something horrible, but he didn't say it on stage or to offend people. So people like that deserve the backlash. Or like that scientist who said women will get distracted in the lab. Do they deserve that backlash? Or is it a case of it's got nothing to do with their field? So
well, I think they deserve the backlash because it's all about, like, I say a lot of strange things in my comedy. And when I first started off, I was doing very offensive sort of the way I'd make fun of the right is by satirizing them, by becoming them. But it didn't go down well constantly because some people actually believe. And a lot of people were going, you're finally saying these things, and I was going, what are you on about? You know, I was defending the most ridiculous things, and it's very much, you know, if you say it, if you say something that's awful just because you weren't intending for lots of people to hear it, doesn't mean you get away with it.
But is an apology ever good enough?
An apology should be good enough, but it's always difficult for people to accept, I think.
Yeah.
Because they go, well, this person's been told by their PR guy to apologise. They never feel that it's sincere.
When it's in the public domain like that, it's hard for anyone to change.
And in a sense, they might not be... They're in a sense normalising behaviour in these 2 cases towards women, which is incorrect.
Yeah.
And while they may not, be actively misogynist towards women, they have normalised a whole.
Well, I think that's why the backlash should take place, because more than anything, it's not really helpful to just shout at them and say, "How dare you say this?" It's more helpful to tell them why what they said was wrong.
Well, that scientist, for example, should he then lose his job?
If he apologises, probably not. But in the same thing as if I work anywhere, if I was working in a shop and I wasn't in the shop and I said something offensive that offended somebody because I said something like, this group of people can't work in the shop because there's too many shiny things or something like that. I said they get distracted by the shiny objects. And then somebody else who was a customer, like magpies or something. I said magpies can't work in my shop. And then a magpie got offended. I know it sounds stupid, but if somebody got offended and said, oh, this person said this outside the shop, that can affect the shop whether or not I'm in it. And it's always that thing of, it's the company that's in charge at the end.
I think people need to realise that your actions wherever are going to have repercussions.
On every aspect of your life. They're not just
whether it takes place in work, outside of work. If you say something like that, take some sort of action, it's going to...
Because it would be ridiculous if you went, well, it's the weekend, I was naked on a train screaming racism.
Okay, we're back.
Okay.
Sorry, what about you?
I said something about, just because it's the weekend, you shouldn't be able to say something like, oh, it's the weekend, I was naked on a train screaming racist abuse at people. But now that I'm back in work, I'm a different person. You don't have the ability to go, this is me when I'm in work, this is me when I'm out of work. It doesn't work that way.
Okay. In terms of how we define political correctness, do you think that there's a problem that the majority, the white male, for example, gets to define what political correctness is, and there's not enough dialogue with people from those minorities? Should there be more conversation with women, with minorities, about how to define what offends people?
I'm not really sure, because political correctness is defined by pretty much anybody who uses it. So my version of political correctness is probably different to yours. When John Cleese says political correctness offends him, he was, I think, talking about the fact that you can make fun of certain people and not others. And that's what offends him, is where do you draw this line? Why are some people a target and not? Whereas most people, when they use political correctness, like the way I use it is, you just don't offend anybody because of like an arbitrary thing. Like, oh, I've seen a lot of white people who act in this way, therefore white people. That's my idea of political correctness, is not going, well, I use these words and nobody else can tell me off, even if they upset you.
Okay, but in terms of individuals, I want to bring it to the case of Prince Charles when he had a friend called Sooty. An Asian friend he called Sooty. Now, the person in question wasn't offended by that, but when it got into the media, everybody was offended. Is that an example of, is that acceptable in day-to-day life?
I think for someone like Prince Charles, he obviously knows he's in the public eye. Saying something as careless as that he knows that hundreds and thousands of people, even millions of people might hear, is
a bit dim.
Really. It's a bit dim, to put it mildly. Obviously, what two people say between them in the private conversations is of no relevance to anybody else, but for someone like that in the public eye...
But it is something that was private and is now accidentally public.
Well, to me, it's that thing of, if you're talking to somebody and you know they don't get offended by these words, you can use these words. If you're in the public eye, it's always different. If you're in your private life and you say something and somebody overhears it and gets offended, you can always go, well, I was just talking to this person about this person. It's like using, if I was to call a friend fat, for example. Now, if somebody who's offended by that came to me and my friend and said, you shouldn't call your friend fat, my friend would probably stand together and go, who on earth are you? Go away. So it's very much difficult to define that, because the intent was never, again, it's all about that thing of, if you're in the public eye, everything you say is going to affect your entire life.
So do you think there's a separate standard that's applied to people in the public eye and people who aren't?
I think there is. Yeah. I think
It's not entirely fair, but
no, it's definitely not fair. But when every aspect of your lives, like so many people now with Twitter and Facebook and massive followers, when every aspect
And people
of your
can just
life-
drunkenly text what they
yeah,
want.
it's
And do you think it's a difference between you can't, for example, openly objectify women, but it's okay to talk to your mates and say, "Oh, that person's fit," so long as that mate's a bloke and only you two can hear it.
I don't know because when you come into
'Cause, I mean,
sexualization, it's very a difficult thing because people always say, well, you know, they put a sexy woman in this video, this film to try and gain the dads to watch it. But then you can also say, well, equally, a lot of women say, oh, I love this film because Brad Pitt looks hot in it. So you've got this double standard constantly of both sides are very sexual. All human beings are very sexual. So as soon as you bring sex into it, it becomes a very different issue for me. Obviously going, oh, look at that tart or something is, and to me, if my friend said that,
Well, not using.
why would you,
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously another boundary again where you know, words like tart and oat simply no longer accepted, which is a positive step.
I think that's definitely a positive step because when people used to use those words, they were saying that it's a bad thing that women are having sex with people, basically. And as a society, I think we're more accepted that.
Yeah, because when you call somebody a tart, that's a piece of food, and that's very, you know, when you call them a bird or something, when you use these animal names and stuff, it really dehumanizes them, removes any aspect that, you know, oh, this person's a person. So no longer do you think, how would I feel if somebody was talking about me, you know, next to me or something? You know, you no longer think that, you just go, well, I'm allowed to because this person's just a bird.
So just to summarise everything we've talked about for the last kind of 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Not
quite quickly.
Yeah, I've certainly learnt a lot. But there is a difference between, you know, what you say privately and what's in the public realm. There's a difference between, you know.
And I think it's not black and white. Definitely.
No, it's really
it's really not.
It's a winding road because things that I say to one group of friends I can't say to another because they get offended by that, and vice versa. And I would never go on stage and say the things that I say to certain friends and things. And that's not because I'm saying what I'm saying is horrible. It's because what I'm saying is a joke that only works because of this, this, and this, and this. And I know all these things about them. Whereas if I go on stage, people just assume, oh well, he's just taking a blanket stereotype. So when you're in the public eye, it's very much easier. Like, for example, with comedians, a lot of comedians, like Ricky Gervais, for example, say really offensive things constantly. And they're fine with it because they get away with it and they just laugh about it and they try to wind people up. But then Ricky Gervais doesn't ever go on stage and point at somebody of an ethnicity that isn't his and go, hey, everybody, attack this person in the parking lot afterwards. That is another thing. So it's all about, like, it's not one straight line of,
it's hard.
This is
I would say it's
correct.
Everybody's going to make mistakes when it comes to talking, and everybody's occasionally going to say the wrong thing, but I think it comes back again to intention. And if someone's intention is good behind it, then you can explain to them.
And it's always important afterwards, if you do make a mistake, make sure you apologise, make sure it's clear that, you know.
Because there's no point sitting there and going, I'm correct. You have to, as a human, you have to want to move with the times and learn. You can't, otherwise you'll be the person, I think Sarah Silverman said it brilliantly, which she said she used to say gay a lot, but not as in gay as in homosexual, as in, that's gay as in that's lame, boring, and then she realised I'm exactly the same as those guys 50 years ago who were old now going, yeah, well, I used to say coloured, so it's fine. And it's that sort of, there's always time to move on because that's how language works.
Okay, well, we are a politics show, so I suppose I have to ask election thoughts.
Oh, here you go.
Look, I'll start with you.
That's fine. What do you want to know? Thoughts, general?
Yeah.
I do think it's probably going to be a Tory landslide, unfortunately. I will be voting for the Labour Party. I've supported Jeremy Corbyn since he was elected, and I kind of lost trust a little bit. But I think that's the media and everything happening. But I think I will continue to show my support, but we'll have to see what good it does. I think the manifesto. You obviously know that. Was,
Well, yeah, it was
such
extremely
an incredibly.
bold. Yeah.
Has received so much such a positive response since it's been released, but yet sadly that's not going to transfer into votes. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think it was just. I think it's obviously the Conservatives, because when the Conservatives first appointed Theresa May, without her being voted in, because she does the same as she's doing now. She's not going on TV debates or anything. She's been very silent. No, she's not a human. No. So she just hides in the darkness, drinks whatever liquids on the floor, and then comes with a crown. That's how it works. That's how I think it works anyway. And so when she first came into power, people were going, "We need a general election because this has to happen." Yeah. They waited a while for that to die down, for that anti-Tory mindset to die down, and then they've gone, "Hey, look at this! Now we're going to do it." And there's such an attack on Labour that it's from all sides, because you've got the Tories saying that Labour want to pull back from Brexit, and then you've got the Lib Dems and people on the other side saying Labour want a hard Brexit. So it's being attacked from every angle. And it's very much just another way of just trying to get more power.
Have you gained much material from this election? Have you got any strong and stable jokes or any Diane Abbott jokes about numbers?
Not really. I don't keep up the way that I do it, because the news goes so quickly. I can't really. I'm a topical comedian, but I keep up with it basically where it happens within the 2 weeks.
A comedian called Stuart Lee said that things are changing so much now. Like politics, it's moving so quickly. It's hard to constantly.
Like one of Dylan Moran's shows is like that, and it's very much hard to keep up. Also, if you make fun of Jeremy Corbyn on stage, you're going to get a massive negative reaction.
I'd actually done that one today, wasn't it?
But that's because it's sort of ironic.
It wasn't really.
If you go on stage,
everyone's lovely granddad, for example. You can make some material out of that.
But you can't really attack him on anything, because as soon as you do, you become the media elite. Like Caitlin Moran wrote an article and everybody, against Jeremy Corbyn, and everybody's going, "Look, she works for Murdoch. She's no longer this feminist icon." And some of her following has just disappeared, even though for years she's been one of those massive feminist writers, and all of a sudden she's made one little thing, and the reaction is death. And also, if you go on stage and talk about like Theresa May or something, everybody's just going to go, "We don't care. We don't really like her." So you're not getting anything out of it.
Do you think these two leaders now, including maybe Tim Farron, are they all just too bland to satirise?
I think I wouldn't say bland. I wouldn't say now is quite an interesting time for politics.
I think it's more that it's Tim Farron. It's always hard to satirise them, because we've moved into an age where you cannot. It links in with political correctness in the way that no longer can you use stereotypes and archetypes to make fun of people. No longer is it acceptable to just go, "Oh, I'm putting on an accent like Theresa May and saying silly things." That wouldn't work anymore.
I don't know what accent she has.
She's not human.
She's not human. She lives under a bridge.
Could you impersonate a robot and say that that's Theresa May?
You could do that, and that would be the joke that would get the laugh. But sort of splitting image, I don't know if that would work as much now, because it's very much impersonating and saying these things. But already, because the way that comedy is moved, you no longer make easy jokes work in that way.
That's one question I did want to ask, actually. Is there a difference between what you can say on television and what you can say in stand-up?
Well, we haven't been looking up to.
Yeah, I've been.
But I mean, a lot of the jokes, particularly cartoons, they take things to another level. Whereas if you repeated it on stage,
like if you look at Charlie Hebdo, and Dieudonné, their French comedy stuff, that's very much balls to the wall sort of. We're just going to attack everything. Whereas on stage, I think it was because obviously that horrible thing happened with Charlie Hebdo. And so, like, they did get a reaction that you would get on stage. But if you went on stage and said those things, you get an immediate reaction of somebody in the audience running up to you, because it's very offensive. Whereas when you're printing it, you don't really get that. However, when you're printing it, you've got a much wider audience. So people who are normally offended by stuff will walk past and see it. Whereas if it's in a club, it's normally people going, "Oh, we know this." It's like 30 people in the club or wherever, or more. And they all want to see this type of comedy. So it's very difficult. On TV, there are even more layers of censorship and nonsense. Like if you watch things like Mock the Week now, there's certain topics they just won't discuss, And if you watch the news, you'll be going, well, this is a big news thing, this is a big news thing. And they'll just be talking about like a banana fell on a baby or something. And it's just...
I missed that one.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, no, not really. Yeah. It's just Hugh Dennis having a fit. But,
is Donald Trump, is he still having endless material?
that was
dangerous to go.
Yeah, with
it's
comedy.
too much. No, not dangerous as in you'll get.
You won't get
down,
hunted
but
down, but like in America, it is that dangerous because a lot of comedians and people. One woman has been detained and put to jail just for laughing at a Republican, and people asking them questions have been put in jail. So that's happening. But over here, we don't really have that. The thing he's saying is dangerous is that so many people did Donald Trump jokes.
Yeah.
Like there was one night where I was, and it was just Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. And then I went up and did my Donald Trump material. So it was everybody talking about this thing, and when everybody's talking about the same thing, it
just stops it.
Yeah, because everybody's gone, okay, we've showed he's got hair, he's got hands.
I think that's what happened though. Donald Trump during the election got so satirised, people actually started taking him seriously. And because he was so controversial, he just dominated the news cycle.
Yeah, because it's same as Le Pen, because if you look at the BBC coverage, especially of France, they were always going, is there a case for Le Pen? Should people vote for Le Pen? It was Le Pen on TV. It was none of the other French leaders, really. In fact, there was one instance where Le Pen was with a background of the French flag and the French anthem, and she was the leader of France, apparently. And it is this nonsense, and it's always showing the right-wing people, these far-right-wing people, but that's because they're losing money, and they need to print this stuff. They need to show this stuff, because that's what gets people reading. Like, Macron got into a lot of trouble, and loads of people started printing his thing because he was saying France had committed war crimes against Algeria, which is a very controversial statement to make in France. So it's always the controversies that go. And if you are Jeremy Corbyn, who sort of doesn't even really defend himself in PMQs, like he's just very, very laid back. People like that, but they don't want to read about it because it's really boring.
Okay, I think that'll call it about time. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Luke. Both coming up from the Sheffield Revue. Tomorrow, I have absolutely no idea who I've got on, but that's a surprise. It's hard, this business, just getting people on. But thank you, see you soon, and that's it for today.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.